One of the more beloved female characters in the X-Men, Emma Frost was first introduced in 1980 as the White Queen of the Hellfire Club. Adored for her dry wit, sharp leadership, her immense powers, and her overall sex appeal, Emma has served as both an ally and an antagonistic force, and has appeared in the X-Men live-action films, animated shows, and even video games. So today we're taking a closer look at the femme fatale with our top 10 Emma Frost surprising facts list. In at number 10, Inspiration. Emma Frost first appeared in Uncanny X-Men 129 during the Dark Phoenix saga. Created by Chris Claremont and John Bryan, her character and the Hellfire Club were inspired by an episode of the 1961 espionage British television show, The Avengers, who have nothing to do with Marvel's Avengers. This episode of the show featured the spy duo protagonists infiltrating a hedonistic criminal underground society. Frost was primarily inspired by one half of that duo, a character named Emma Peel, who was played by Lady Olenna herself, Diana Rigg. In that episode, she wore a provocative corset, sexy boots, and a collar, and called herself the Queen of Sin. So you can see how some of that carried over. In at number 9, her powers. Emma's powers are quite extensive. She's an Omega-class telepath, and has a secondary mutation, an organic diamond form that gives her superhuman strength, durability, stamina, and psychic immunity. Her telepathic abilities have been known to rival those of Charles Xavier, and she even defeated him in X-Men Legacy Volume 1, issue 216. Aside from that, she's capable of psionic shields, and the removal of them, telepathic mind cloaking, illusions and camouflage. She can absorb and download information from an individual's mind, can astral project, heal mental trauma, possess a mind, induce mental paralysis, sedation, alteration, and amnesia, has mental detection, can telepathically track someone, is capable of mind transferal, can do a neural jumpstart, and has a limited form of psychometric powers. Yeah, it's a lot of shit. And she's capable of telekinesis to top that all off. But she isn't capable of accessing her telepathic powers when in her diamond state. Can't have everything, guys. In at number 8, she's a bad cook. While she may be a woman of many talents, turns out cooking just isn't one of them. She once tried to substitute a ripe tomato with ketchup. Up next, number 7, she had a mental affair with Scott Summers. Cyclops, aka Scott Summers, doesn't have the best track record when it comes to fidelity. So when Emma started helping him with the trauma he had gained after a particularly brutal battle with Apocalypse, the two started having psychic therapy sessions, which then turned into mental affairs that Jean Grey found out about. And that didn't really go over very well. But eventually, as per usual, Jean ended up kicking the can yet again, and Scott and Emma got together, taking over the Xavier School, but that didn't end overly well either. Up next, number 6, depiction of sexuality. One of Emma's well-known traits is how overtly sexual she is, primarily for the debate of whether or not her sexuality is an exception when it comes to the criticism towards over-sexualization of female characters in comics. Those for that argument believe that she is a depiction of a sexually empowered woman, who uses oppressive sexual norms to her advantage rather than just rejecting them. This is due to Chris Claremont's crafting of her character, and his writing for other female characters in the X-Men that wasn't exploitative or objectifying. Claremont even goes as far as having Emma Frost argue that clothing preference and style was a form of personal empowerment. In at number 5, the White Queen. Emma has a thing for the color white. I think that's pretty obvious. For ages, it was the only color that she wore in the comics, adopting the name the White Queen from her days running the Hellfire Club. So where does this love come from? Well, most suspect it has to do with her brother, who she loved dearly. He once told her that white was her color. Speaking of which, in at number 4 is Christian Frost. Let's take a closer look at her brother. Christian was the only son of Winston and Hazel Frost, and brother to 3 sisters, Adrienne, Cordelia, and of course Emma, who he was the closest to. Christian was a gay man, and was disowned by his father when he came out. His father even went to the extent of having his boyfriend framed and deported, which caused Christian to fall into a cycle of substance abuse. Emma approached her father to get help for Christian, but instead he sent him to a mental institution. How's that for bad parenting? Speaking of, in at number 3, mental institution. Christian wasn't the only family member that the Frost sent to a mental institution. In Generation X Volume 1, issue 24, in a story called Home for the Holidays, Emma reveals that she was sent to a special clinic when her telepathy first manifested. The institution stuck her in a straitjacket and kept her on a lithium diet. But Emma learned how to make the most of the situation. She used it as a means to test her powers, manipulated the guards and the orderlies, which eventually led to her being set free. It's worth noting that this story somewhat contradicts her origin story found in Emma Frost Volume 1, issue 1 from 2003. Up next, number 2, she killed her own sister. One part of her origin story has always stayed the same though, the murder of her eldest sister Adrienne Frost. Adrienne had psychometric powers, and Emma and her had been estranged for years. When Frost Enterprises, which Emma ran, was on the decline due to a stock market hit, Emma approached her sister for financial backing, and as part of the deal, Adrian requested to be made a co-head mistress of Emma's Massachusetts Academy, a school similar to Xavier's. But this was all part of an elaborate scheme to torture her sister with psychic illusions. Adrian claimed to be the new White Queen, stole over $1 million from the London Hellfire Club, that she'd revealed the Massachusetts Academy as being a mutant training school, and set a bomb that led to the mutant Sync's death. So how did Emma resolve this? Well, their powers didn't work on one another since they were siblings, a common effect seen amongst mutants like Cyclops and Havoc. So instead, Emma shot her. And finally, in her #1 spot, body swaps. With an arsenal of telepathic abilities, it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that somewhere down the line, writers would use those powers to pull some body swapping mind-f***ery with other characters. And that they did, by trapping not one, but 3 different characters inside her body as she assumed their identities, but not always motivated by an intentional evil scheme. First up was Storm, who was trapped inside Emma during Uncanny X-Men number 151 to 152. That one was an evil scheme. Jean Grey was second, and was trapped inside of her in Uncanny X-Men between issues 281 and 284, which happened as an odd body swap after the two endured an intense battle. And lastly, Emma ended up inside of Iceman's body too, after being comatose. She had taken possession of Bobby's body in Uncanny X-Men issue 314. This is what led to her to reform. She had been knocked out during a battle when her Hellions were attacked by Sentinels, and all of them were slaughtered, something that she carried an immense amount of guilt over. Alright, there we have it, friends. How many of these facts did you know about Emma? Would you like us to do more lists on X-Men characters? Let us know in those comments below. And as always, if you dug this video, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. And show us some love by sharing it with a friend. If you want more nerdy vids, feel free to check out our channel, or click on this nifty little playlist on your screen right now. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I've been Kelly Pally, and this has been Top 10 Nerd. Catch you all in the next one.